Okay then, next step is rehab. Okay, so if you made a decision that you're going to go to a rehab to get help, you do need that extra level 24-hour support, that time away from the triggers to get sober, to just obtain some sobriety, to look after your liver, look after your brain. The decision has been made that you're going to go to rehab. What do you need to consider to find the best rehab? Okay, so there's a few things I really don't just Google the place that you want to go to and rehab. You're only going to find the rehab that's paid the most for their Google ads and has good organic SEO. What you need to do is hunt through the pages to find the right place that hits this criteria. Now, firstly, let's be practical. Financially, what money do you have to spend? What insurance, if any, do you have? I know a lot of my audience is Australian, so if you look at your health insurance, a rehab in Australia may well be covered to a certain point, depending on how much you pay. So look at your health insurance and what will be covered. If it's not going to be covered, again, we've got to look at cost. Now, you don't want to go the cheapest option because ideally you want to get the best place that's going to give you the best chance of long-term recovery that you don't need to go to again. So if it comes to like a few grand, don't choose the cheapest place, because how some of the rehabs cut costs is they use a lot of interns and people in early recovery as staff members, as opposed to more experienced staff members. Keep their cost. There's lots of different ways they keep the costs down, but that's one. So you might, if you go to something cheap, end up with less experienced staff, as well as, there's lots of different ways they can cut corners, but that's a very popular way that people can keep the costs down. They just get, they staff the place with people in early recovery, not highly qualified clinical psychologists, somatic therapists, recovery coaches. So yeah, something to think about, because you want a place that is going to give you the best chance of long-term sobriety. So in terms of the finances, there's just one thing that I really want to point out. A lot of rehabs will discount. So do ask. If you get them at the right time and you need to get in straight away, ask what the best price is. So that's something to definitely to consider. Less so in Australia. Now, a lot of people from Australia do come to Bali. It is a great solution because, there's a number of places around the world that you can go to. US, Costa Rica, Thailand, Bali. Now, when you go to one of these recovery hubs, the benefit is they will introduce you to a recovery way of life, and there's a solid, for example, Bali was brilliant for me because even though the best rehabs weren't 12-step rehabs, they were based on the developmental model and recovering from complex trauma. They took me to meetings every day, which means even though I hated AA, I ended up finding meetings that I liked, finding community I liked, finding rock star friends who were just like me, who were in recovery, and that was really, really helpful. Bali is also a very affordable option. So you can get, your own private room and private bathroom and good quality food and, nice weather. It just makes things easier. When there's less cost, there's less stress. If money's a factor for you, like it is for most of us, then, not mortgaging the home to do something that, again, is just the first step in recovery. So, I would suggest Bali as a good destination. The questions that you need to ask are, when we look at everything we know around the neuroscience of addiction, If you want to check on any of the research, just Google Dr. Gabor you want to find somewhere that bases itself on healing from complex trauma, on understanding the developmental model. You want somewhere that uses different methodologies ideally. So it might be internal family systems. It might be a focus on more somatic work. You want to ensure that you've got, now in terms of the therapy you're going to get, again, a way that some places cut down, they have big group therapy and tiny amounts of one-on-one. So you want to ensure that you have an hour a week with a qualified clinical psychologist, and that your group therapy classes aren't more than 6, maximum 8. So you want to get the quality time. Now you want to ensure, when they say holistic, you want to ensure that there is some level of hypertropic breath work, meditation, that there really is that balance of working with the body and the nervous system and the vagus nerve as much as there is on building those new neural pathways. So really important that the psych education is up to standard, that you're going to feel safe there. You want the environment to be one, because your brain won't open up and heal and uncover those old memories unless you feel safe. So have those extra conversations with the rehab and talk to them about the therapist and how it works, and ask the questions about the quality of, how much access you get to therapists, recovery coaches, the amount of group therapy. Ensure that there's going to be time in nature, ensure that there's going to be good quality food. These are all really important things. Now, if you're staying for more than 28 days, again, I need to understand the depth of where you are on the DSM-5 and how serious your addiction is, what prior work you've done around healing from complex trauma. But if you're doing, so again, in the comment section, ask anything, because also the question that you ask might be one that somebody else needs the answer to as well. So ask me anything you'd like there. You can DM private questions, but if you put them in the comments, you're going to help more people as well. So please do comment with any specific questions. And in an ideal world, because it does take a year of committed work for those new neural pathways and working with the nervous system, you do 3 months or 2 months and transition to a sober home. For anyone who's thinking I only need to detox 5 days, that's fine if you're going back into a really healthy, loving, supporting environment with 0 triggers. Again, put any questions in the comments section here. But in an ideal world, especially if you're younger and you've got more time, you've lost your job, you've got a break, you're going to double your chances if you do 8 weeks instead of 4. Think of it that way. Think about it as a commitment to the rest of your life. Ideally, we're going to go full, rehab. No, there's going to be no triggers around. Ideally, you'll have very little technology. Ideally, you want somewhere that will only give you a phone an hour a day. Get away from some of the family members that are in anger, shaming and blaming right now. Get away from those work stresses. Really, it's so good for your mental health to have some break from technology. Some people go, oh no, I want the place where I can watch Netflix all day and I can stay on my phone. Not if you want real transformation. That's going to make it a little bit easier initially, but not really in the long term. That's a delusion. You're actually going to feel happier when you have space away from technology and news and all those sources. So depending on how much time, depending on how much money, but ideally you do 2 months, and the last month you transition out to having some free time, being able to get out and about with people and come back, but there being random drug and alcohol testing. So you start slowly getting exposed to the triggers, to drugs and alcohol, to porn, to whatever it is that's out and about in the world that has been your pathological self-soothing. You don't go from an environment where you're insanely safe and completely protected to the real world in one go. Ideally, if you're doing more than a month, there's going to be a transition out where you get more confidence, more. Now, hopefully you're going to have a healthy level of fear moving out into the world in a really good way. But if you can transition out, that is ideal. If you've got more time and space, onto sober living, onto aftercare, onto working with a clinical psych, somatic healer, recovery coach. Again, depending on, do you have comorbidity? What kind of level of support do you have in your existing environment? A lot of different factors there, but you need to ensure that you're working with somebody and ideally start that relationship while you're in the rehab to have somebody that you trust and you feel safe with, that you can continue that work on an ongoing basis. So I hope that's been helpful. Yeah, good luck in choosing the right place. You know, I can refer you to places, but for now, I just want to give you the tools to be asking the right questions, and let me know if I can help anymore.